Welcome to Living Lit, where conversations spark inspiration to live in truth. Journey together with us to explore what it means to live a liturgical life and walk in the truth of our faith. Let's instill a culture in our hearts, homes, families, and world, living a life cooperating with and walking alongside our Lord. I'm Robyn Brueggemann. Let's be a light, share the light, shine the light, and live lit. In this studio today, I have three of my favorite people. Well, four, if you count Casey, our producer, who really brings Living Lit to life. He's the magic behind the scenes here. But I have my older kids with me today. So it's kind of like I guess you could say bring your kids to work day to see where mom works. But no, actually, I have three of my 7 kids here today. And my oldest 3 kiddos are grown, out of the house. They are adults. They are all married, and they're just incredible humans. And I have invited them not only just to come into the studio and see kind of what it's like when mom records a show, but also I just really wanted them to come on and share what it was like for them growing up in a home and a family that was kind of centered around and focused on the faith, and what role that played in them as they matured into adults and, have their own lives, and how the faith has kind of transitioned them into that. And they also are really a huge part of Living Lit, the apostolate, the ministry, and they've grown up with it. And so I just think it'll be kind of fun to hear them. So welcome to this episode where you get to meet my 3 grown-up kids, my bigs. So we kind of, with 7 kids, we have the bigs, the middles, and the littles. And so these are the 3 bigs in the studio with me today. So welcome, guys. I'm so excited to have you in the studio. So we were all chatting away before we started recording, and now they're all all tight-lipped now. So we got to get them to reopen up again. So we are going to start with introducing them. So I'm going to start with my oldest, Michaela. So Michaela, will you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah, so obviously I'm Michaela. I'm the oldest, number 1. I was the first to leave the house, get married. My husband is Jordan. We've been married for almost 7 years already, and we have the only grandkids in the picture right now.
So a little bit spoiled.
Yes,
by the aunts and uncles.
Quite spoiled, yes. So our daughter is 4 and our son is 1.5. Yeah, and we love our little family and we love our big family. We are very blessed with our family life for sure. And
do you want to tell people what you do? What is your occupation?
I mostly stay home, but I do work part-time as a nurse at Avera Behavioral Health as a nurse there. So
yeah, a psych nurse. So we're catching Michaela. She's going to work the overnight tonight. So we are catching Michaela between naps today.
Yes, so we're going to sleep right after this.
We'll go home and she'll sleep and she'll be awake all night while the rest of us are sleeping. So awesome. Okay, next we have Carter in line.
Yep. Hey guys, this is Carter. Second oldest boy, so I think the farm is rightfully mine according to the Bible. I'm
gonna come back to that.
For some reason, God said that, so I'm just gonna go with it. But yeah, so oldest boy. I always help Dad out on the farm and stuff like that. Right now, I'm married to Abby, my wife, and we are living in Austin, Texas. I'm doing regenerative agriculture down there, which is kind of fun. I kind of became a little passionate about that here and right across the border in Iowa, and decided to carry that with me. And so doing regenerative agriculture down in Texas.
Down in Texas. He's picking up the Texas accent, y'all. It's really fun. As Carter's lived down there a little bit longer, the little siblings will be like, "You guys notice Carter talks a little bit different now and stuff." But super fun. So we took this opportunity. I've been wanting to record with my bigs. That's kind of always been, a dream that we would have on the podcast. But Carter is home super fast for a super fast weekend from Texas, pulled in a little before midnight last night onto the farm. And it's kind of fun. He's getting pigs from us on the farm to bring way down south to the ranch he's at in Texas. So it's really super fun. We always kind of joked about that. Wouldn't that be cool if you could get some livestock from us and bring it down to the ranch down in Texas? And it actually is happening. So we are super excited about that, because if it weren't for that, we wouldn't be seeing you right now. So we are so excited. So
exactly.
Okay, next we have Julia.
Okay, I'm Julia, number 3. So I'm not a middle child anymore, but I was for a lot of my life. I'm blanking out. What about me? I'm married. My husband's name is Hunter. We've been married for a little over 2 years now and bought our first house about a year ago. So just kind of figuring life out like that. I wear a lot of hats, but right now we're in the thick of the marching band season, and
With what school?
I teach percussionists at Sioux Falls Lincoln, which is crazy with their marching band. It was a lot of fun, but it's a lot of hours. And I am currently helping Sioux Falls Housing and Redevelopment Commission through a software conversion. So I'm on my lunch break, and I'll head back there after that.
Yeah, this was super fun. So thanks for being here, guys. I have been so excited for this moment. I didn't know if it was ever, I thought it'd be a long ways down the road. So I'm super excited that God just made this happen. And I'm just crazy proud of you as all moms are of their children. And I was kind of reflecting on just the way you guys have embraced your faith as, you kind of always have growing up, but when you're a parent, you're not sure if your kids are just doing that to be obedient or, not cause any waves. But you guys have all chosen to keep the Catholic faith as your forefront and to live from that faith. And so that's what I really wanted to invite you guys on to talk about. And also when I was reflecting on today too, I was just thinking about how our family would not be the family it is, our culture of our family that Dad and I have envisioned all these years of just being this close-knit family and a strong domestic church without you three. So you three have just been incredible older siblings, which is thanks be to God, by the grace of God and your awesome dad. But you guys have just played such an important role in the little kids too, raising of the middles and the littles. And I remember when God just kept calling us into a bigger family, the more kids we had. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how is this all going to work out? And some of the priest friends that we're close to would say, you know what, you just wait. It's all going to, God's just going to gel it all together. And you're going to see your older kids step into these roles automatically the way God intended them to just kind of fill into these roles. And it's just, they're going to be helping with the other kids and it'll just be a natural thing. And I remember when I watched that happen with all three of you, just thinking, oh my goodness, they were right. God does really take care of that. So I'm just so grateful to you Biggs, because you've honestly, I could not have raised, and we're still, so this is just, you guys are just half of the kids, but honestly, we could not be the family we are today without all three of you pitching in and also just the excitement of every time we would bring another baby home from the hospital, the little baby store, right? You guys just always welcomed all of your siblings so lovingly. And so I'm just so grateful to God and for just, having that happen. So thank you guys. So as far as raising, okay, so actually I'm going to back up a second and talk about how, Living Lit Apostolate, the podcast is just a branch of that. The Living Lit. And I think it would be fun for people to know that Living Lit was named by you guys. So we started out so you guys have grown up following me around to speaking events. We would take you out of school or we'd go for a weekend and you guys would travel along and Dad would stay in the nursery with you guys while I'd be at a speaking event or something at the church nursery or so you have grown up before we even realized God was going to invite us into something bigger. You grew up following me around. You grew up working at church when I was a DRE. You guys were the ones behind the scenes setting up and tearing down. You were fully invested. So you've grown up when we didn't even know that God would invite us into more. But I think the biggest part of this that has helped us as a family was that we were learning the faith together at home. So people will be, now know that if they're listening, I'm a Catholic convert. And it wasn't until Michaela was in first grade that I fully had my conversion and thought, okay, I want to learn about the faith. And so in the years of me just learning the faith, having really no idea about Catholicism and why we do what we do, you guys were there. And so we learned the faith together. And you guys know that's important to me and Dad that, parents, we're so passionate about parents being the primary educators in a home. And so Dad and I just stumbled into that, of course. But what is so cool is I don't feel like I taught you guys the faith. I feel like we learned it together because I was at the same same place you guys were, like coming in, and we just learned the faith together. And so what I want us to talk about then is how that has affected you guys, like growing up in a faith focused home, which I know is not always easy. And I also want to point out to our listeners that we are so not perfect, right? And my kids will be the first to tell you that. We are not a perfect family at all. We are just a normal, average family like the rest of the families, trying to live a holy life, which is very hard to do in this world. And so to anybody listening, I want to make sure there's no comparison to what you might hear my kids share or me share ever. Please just don't fall into that trap of comparison or shame or anything like that, right? So we are all at a place in life where the Lord has called us to be, and he's always calling us into a deeper place of more intimacy with him. So with anything that we share on Living Lit, I just want to make sure that you're pointed to Christ, but that what we share in our vulnerability of opening up a glimpse into our life, that it's only because we feel the Lord has invited us to do so, and that we just hope that maybe the Lord will work through us in something we say that will inspire you to just draw closer to the Lord and along with your family. So I just remembered, I didn't get back to the Living Lit. Okay, so you guys are all quiet. So Living Lit, how did Living Lit? The kids named Living Lit. So I was getting ready to speak at a women's conference for the diocese here, and they said we need a name for the ministry. And like I said, the kids have grown up with me, speaking at different things and doing different things for the diocese or whatever. And I said, well, okay, kids, at supper one night, we need to have a name. The diocese said, we need a name for the topic you're going to speak on, which was liturgical living, which you guys have grown up with the faith, and we've lived liturgically for like 20 some years in the house. So you guys have grown up in that way. And so I'm like, so what should we name the title of the talk I'm going to give for this women's conference? And you guys were like throwing names around, and I don't know, could it be this? What about this? And back in that day, so I don't even know how many years ago this would have been, but it was a while ago, right? Mm-hmm. And that was when the word lit was like popular and the teens and all the kids, if something was really cool, you guys would be like, that is totally lit. That's so lit. And I remember when you kids started using that phrase in the house, and Dad and I were like, whoa, like that meant something different. Yeah. We were your guys' age, so what, But then you're like, no, it's like cool. Like lit is like something that's just like totally awesome, whatever. Yeah,
synonymous with awesome.
Yeah, so we were like, oh. So then you guys at the supper table, the whole family, we're like, well, you talk on liturgical living liturgical. And that's, kind of our family. That's what you're going to be sharing. And so you guys came up with how about Living Lit, which means like liturgical life, but also means fun and awesome. It's totally lit. So these guys get the credit for the naming of our ministry years ago, which was, it's Divine Nine, Living Lit, because we are the Divine Nine. I'll explain that in another show, but then it's shortened to Living Lit. So you guys get the credit for the name. So
that's right.
you guys are totally lit.
Well, I think it's also like worth mentioning when we were talking about it. It wasn't just like thrown out like, oh, haha, that's like a funny word right now. It was also just like you were talking about wanting to appeal to the younger parents and like the younger generation. And I think a lot of times like living liturgically is maybe seen as like old people things.
What?
and so we were like, yeah, no, it's young, it's fun, it's fresh. I don't know.
And it can seem daunting.
Yeah.
Too. Like all or nothing almost.
Yeah. Living liturgical?
That's not really how it is. It's, you can choose what works for your family. Like I definitely don't do everything that we've done growing up for our little family. And even what we did maybe like 15, 20 years ago is different than what we do now, like as the Brueggemann family anyway. So, yeah, like me as a young mom, I cannot tackle all the things that mom as a seasoned parent can do now. So, yeah, like you said.
Well, speaking of liturgical living, so we can start talking about that. Liturgical living is living the life of the church in the home with different feast days, seasons, Lent, Advent, Christmas, Easter. For example, as we're recording today, it is the feast of St. Francis of Assisi. And so we would take these holy pauses throughout the year as you guys are growing up. And so like today we would just pause and be like, oh, today is the feast of St. Francis of Assisi. This is his saint story. He is known for, nature and animals. And I mean, so many great things. He has the San Damiano, how can't I say that? Crucifix even. That's this one right here, isn't it, Casey? Right here in the corner, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, here in the studio. But anyways, so many great things. I won't spend much time on that. But so like as you guys are growing up, we would stop and be like, oh, today's the Feast of St. Francis. Here's what he's known for. He has a great, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, that prayer. And then we would have animal cookies.
And spray the animals with holy water.
Yeah, well,
ones we could
yes.
catch.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we would do the animal
animals.
blessing, like bless our dog, bless all the livestock. So anyways, that's what we mean by, that's an example of liturgical living, which the next layer of Living Lit is going to be bringing in more liturgical life. So that's what the kids are talking about right now. So how did living a liturgical life in the home, tell me, what was that like? Like, you guys don't know any different. You grew up with this. You were my guinea pigs of doing this because I was learning it at the same time. I wanted to learn the faith, and that's how we did it, was liturgical living. So tell me what you think about it. How was it growing up, or how did it, I don't know, fun? You guys are so quiet.
Yeah,
we're recording, you guys.
I don't know. I mean,
Celebrating all
yeah.
the time.
Lots
I
of
just said I don't want to
celebrations.
interrupt you. That's why.
Yeah, well, yeah, same. I was like
Turn it
waiting. I remember like my friends growing up, I'd be like, oh, we're having a feast day, blah, blah, blah. And like a lot of Protestants don't even use the term feast day. And they'd always be like, you guys are always having parties. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. Or like, I remember some of my closer like Protestant friends, like I'd be like, oh, it's my baptism birthday coming up. And they're like, I don't even know what day you got baptized. You celebrate that? I'm like, yeah, I got to choose dessert.
You get to celebrate.
Or like,
life.
because my birthday, well, all of our birthdays in the summer, so we didn't get to bring treats to school on our birthday, but I got to bring it on my baptism birthday because that was during the school year. And I remember, I think it was second grade, like I got a sticker and my teacher even wrote like Mikhail's baptism birthday on it. I was like, yes, this is the best.
That's funny.
Yeah. So we do a lot of partying with feast days, and I think that's what you agree that when we celebrate the liturgical year, even though there are some seasons which are more somber, like Lent or things like this, for the most part, we're doing a lot of partying. It's fun, and you guys have made those connections then to the faith is fun. We can bring the faith alive in the home in a fun way, and we're making that connection. So you guys have the connection, like animal cookies. You think of St. Francis. So we do these fun things, but it's ultimately to make the faith connection. Yeah. So Carter lives in Austin, like he said, and he has become part of the Catholic young adult group down there, which is totally on fire and awesome. Like, I want to become a young adult and move to Austin just to be in their group because they are doing so much fun stuff all the time. But you guys, like, you have found, so, most, like you mentioned, most people that you were talking with, they didn't live in that way, which is fine, but it was different. It intrigued them, right? And so most of the time you guys spent your life being like, okay, we're kind of weird. We do this stuff. And then Carter moves to Texas, and the people in your group live lit. So tell us how that's even come up.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. First off, shout out to the Carmies, Mount Carmel Young Catholic Adult Group of
That's
Austin.
the name of his small group.
Let's go Carmies.
Are you going to make them all listen to this?
No, I don't know.
Let's see how it's gonna
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I have to say about them first. No, it's just kind of cool because, like growing up, we were kind of like the only people that did this, and it was always kind of like weird, because we were the only ones doing it. But you go down and you go down to a city, especially like Austin, where nobody's actually from Austin, If you're from Austin, they even call you like a unicorn because like they don't actually even exist. So, yeah, pretty crazy, but everybody's just imported. So all walks of life, all different types of jobs, a lot of tech jobs and stuff. And we all have that in common, like living a Catholic life and like different like liturgical things that they will do themselves just because they're passionate. And yeah, it's super cool to see.
Yeah, so like one of the things like you guys did, and I love because Carter will send me snaps or pictures or texts of like holy cow, we're living lit down here, whatever. And so a few days was the feast day of St. Therese. And your small group, or your leader of your group, which is, you have one of several Catholic young adult groups because you're at the cathedral, Austin Cathedral, whatever, in diocese. But anyways, we've met Patrick, who is so great. He is kind of your fearless leader. And he brought a relic, a first-class relic. Did you guys know this? Probably not. A first-class relic of St. Therese. He was able to get, am I allowed to say this? From the cathedral?
I don't know. Yeah,
Anyway, so your group is called, you're the Carmelite group. Like, you're all named after a Marian name, right? And
Yep.
so then Patrick brought that to your group, which is so cool. So you sent me a
Yeah,
picture of the
super
reliquary, whatever, with St. Therese's relic, and then even like the official document
Yep.
that talked
The
about
document
it.
with it.
So it's so cool how you are living lit as a Catholic young adult, and different ways than like at home we maybe would have been having like candy roses or something, but you were living liturgical as an adult with the actual relics of St. Therese being brought to your small group because you happen to have small group on Tuesday nights. So super cool. But you've also come in contact with other people in your group who do liturgical fun things, right?
Yep. Yeah, I am blanking right now on what day it was. It was just a, yeah, you're right. It was just a solemnity. And
Just a solemnity.
Yep. But there's one couple in our group that does a solemnity skillet cookie. Like, that's like their thing that they do for every solemnity. So, yeah, they invited us over, and that night we made like skillet cookies, and we had ice cream. It was a super fun time, hanging out with people for a liturgical reason like that especially is cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. It's been so life-giving to me when I see like Catholic young adults like choosing to embrace the faith and live lit. I see Michaela carrying it on now with our grandkids, her kiddos. And there's ways that Julia can do that too, bringing it into her home as like a young married couple too, right? So do you guys have other things you want to add about, Michaela, you got something to add about liturgical living?
Well, I was just thinking, like, a couple points. It's really cool because how Carter said that all the people in Austin are transplants. That means that there are areas all over the country then of people that live liturgically. So, like, we may have felt like the odd people out where we grew up, but we weren't really alone because there are actually
That's
all
true.
these people doing it all over. And so I'm sure for Carter, like, that was really refreshing to not be the unicorn.
You're like, what? I wasn't we weren't the only family doing that? You grew up this way too? Yeah.
But I also wanted to add, like, that was really cool about the couple who, like, they came up with their own, the skillet cookie thing. I feel like a lot of what we do, and maybe it's just because we like puns, is we do a lot of puns.
We do.
For
Punny foods.
living
Mom and Dad are so punny.
Yeah, just like puns. Puns everywhere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way. And it doesn't, like, have to be food necessarily either. Like, the relics are really cool. Or, like, say you could go get roses or something.
Yeah, for St. Therese.
Yeah. So, like, it doesn't have to just be food. I mean, food's great. Everyone's got to eat. So,
Right?
I mean,
That's
that's
what we
the
figure. You
easy
gotta
way
eat.
to do it. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
And with Living Lit Ministry, that's going to be the next layer we're going to be bringing in to the Living Lit podcast is what does it look like to live a liturgical life? Which a lot of people have been asking, can you teach us how? So that's going to be the next layer of the ministry that we'll be bringing in. These are ideas. This is what it looks like. Here's what you could do. So for listeners who are like, what in the heck are they talking about? But I'm intrigued. Don't worry, we'll teach you. That's what Living Lit is. We want to invite you on the journey. So Julia, you
Can
have
I
a thought?
play off that? Okay,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I feel like I should maybe say, I guess, that, like, I can see where it would feel super daunting, like looking in, where I don't know if we're like talking about these like different celebrations and what we do and stuff, but it's not like we're sitting at the table like only talking about our faith and like we're like, you know, like drilling.
We're not like nerdy or anything like that.
I just like because I think like zooming out, it really is more so just like maybe this is a hot take, but I don't really think that there are like neutral events. Like everything in your life, like you either use it as an opportunity to get closer to God or you use it as an opportunity to just be like stagnant and maybe even move further from God. And so like I feel like the Living Lit that we do is there are times where we're like actively like reading about the saints or like actively moving our relationship towards God, but like it really is just like bringing it into our lives, so that weird, so that like everything in our life can be a step towards God. And it's not like we're in church on Sundays and then we go home and do our own life. It's just like incorporating God into everything, because he wants to love you through animal crackers and like, like, because I don't know, I guess that was all I really had. It's just like, it's not as like formal, I think, as a lot of people think it is. Like the whole cookie thing, like they just had friends over. And it's not like they were sitting there for the whole, however long you were there, the whole evening, like only talking about solemnities. Like it's so beautiful. Like God made us to be communal and want to have fun together. And then he's like, I'm giving you all these reasons too. So I don't know. That's all I have.
Yeah, no, good. Yeah. And while you guys are here, you should let people know that, I'm a very unplanned out person. My kids will all tell you that. I am a last minute, aren't I? Like, I live everything to the last minute. And whether it's cooking, cleaning, anything we do, getting out the door, right? So I think it's important for people to know that too, right? Like our family pulls it off, and it's really kind of a miracle that we do, because, right? I'm a last minute crazy person.
That's what I did on Feast of Guardian Angels this week. I mean, Melody was in Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, and I went to Walmart and got the angel food cake. Yay. Like, it was not well planned out.
Yeah, so people can do it. It is doable. Mm-hmm. Yes, we don't want it to be daunting. Yeah. It is doable. We'll show people. We'll take them on the journey. Did anybody else have any liturgical living stuff that you want to talk on?
I think so.
Okay, so let's dive into the faith part. So as far as like this liturgical living, we had to start first by like just being into like learning about the faith, right? And so that's what I want you guys to talk about. So like I've mentioned, we grew up doing the faith together. So we did a program called Family Formation, which is where we did religious ed in our home. And that's where parents become the primary educators. And Spike and I didn't know that much about the faith. I mean, Spike was raised with it and had a good, solid foundation, but there were so many, everything I would ask him, why do we do this? Why do we do that? I didn't know. So we stumbled upon this. Well, we didn't stumble. God put it in our path very purposely, thankfully. And so we embraced that, and we did it together as a family, learning the faith together. So tell me what it was like for you guys then when we would do our family formation. We did it every Wednesday night together as a family. And we had the tools and materials provided, and we basically just kind of read through this stuff, right, together. So tell me how learning the faith together with the family, how did that impact you during your life, like growing up? Like I have some ideas, but I just kind of want to see what you guys are going to say about how did that make a difference to you, let's just say in elementary, in junior high, in high school, for starters. And then I want to go into how that launched you guys into choosing the faith, making those choices when you left the home. Got a thought, Carter?
Yeah. I think it is definitely really important to have the whole entire family unit there and present and like mentally present. It's not like, a couple of them are like out doing their own thing. It's like everybody's present and everybody's participating. So like, even if like you don't say anything, like if I'm like a younger boy, obviously looking up to my dad, and he's like involved and, like I said, doesn't have to say anything, but like actually like thinking and participating, that's plenty. As a boy, just seeing that your dad actually cares about that is huge.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point for those who don't know Spike, my husband, their dad. He's very quiet, and he is a very strong spiritual powerhouse leader for our family, but he doesn't say much, does he? He's a man of very few words, but I love, Carter, that you point out, so it was usually me doing the lessons, but like you point out, Dad was there listening, and you knew of his support and his...
keeping us in line.
Yeah. Be quiet, Mom's talking.
Sit up. No laying on the ground.
Yeah. You want to expand on that more, Carter, with the... So you notice the role of Dad, of the parents together, but more specifically of Dad.
Yeah, I mean, I think just because like I was a boy, so like Dad being there is a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, the statistics back that, like,
right.
As much as I watching you grow up in the faith and stuff, like, that's really powerful. Like, the statistics and just, like, the way our brains and hearts are made, we are inclined to, like, see fatherhood and faith in fatherhood. It's more impactful. So, yeah, I think I agree, really important to see Dad, even if, he doesn't like reading, but he was always there. And then, like, I mean, we kind of joked about it, but, like, it didn't always look perfect. And I remember there were times, like, growing up as a kid where I was, like, annoyed that I had to, stop my homework and sit down for Wednesday, like,
for a quick hour.
Yeah. But now looking back as an adult, for sure, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, we are so blessed that, like, there's a lot of families that never sit down all together, even for supper, let alone to talk about their faith.
And we were always promised dessert at the end.
That should be proclaimed.
You can tell
we did not all willingly sit down necessarily in, like, first grade and stuff, but it was Wednesday nights. If we did our lesson, we got to decide and make a treat.
Yeah, we had dessert after on Wednesday nights.
In fact, some of my favorite dessert is still labeled in my cookbook as Carter's Family Faith Formation.
Rocky Road Brownies.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think, Michaela?
Well, I kind of, like, going off of what Carter and Julia both said about, like, Dad being there. Like, for us, we married someone who emulates what our dad showed us in the faith. Like, that then is impacting the generations that we will bring up. Like, because our dad was present with us in our faith life and in our family life, then we chose someone who will be that for us in our new family. And that can only pay dividends as life goes on. And that impacts generations. So if there are any men listening or, like, single women, like, that's really important to have that strong, like, male figure in your faith life too.
And I'm glad that you brought up the generational part of it, because that's really a lot of the Living Lit ministry and apostolate. How it's really come to be is that Dad and I, Spike and I, have such a strong desire to, God has blessed us. And we're always like, why has he chosen to bring us into our faith and fall so much in love with it? If not, to share it with others. And we just know that the Lord has so clearly invited us into trying to help other people see the beauty that comes when you fully embrace domestic church living and the faith in the home, and how, obviously life is so different when we're operating out of faith as our core and our center. And it's hard. My gosh, it is hard. We all know that. It is hard, but you have to be so intentional. But what Dad and I really, what made the difference for us in really thinking hard is the generational impact that faith in a family has. Like, it's crazy to think about how by not passing on the faith or setting it up in a way that a kid hopefully, and it's, it's by the grace of God, will embrace that too, has the ability to affect. It's just more than just your own children, and so that's a huge passion of ours with the ministry, is we just want to be some sort of, I don't want to say inspiration, I don't know if you can think of the word I'm thinking of, but just to show you a glimpse into us, if we can help cheer you on and encourage you to say, you know what, it is doable, it's not perfect, it's hard or whatever, and also that all families are different. Yeah. So we can all families can choose to embrace a life of faith, but we're not going to look the same, because none of us are the same. We all have our own fingerprint. We are all our own person. That's where it's like we can't compare. You can't compare yourself to someone else because there isn't another you. And we need to be careful to not compare ourselves to other families, because there isn't another family that looks like yours. Yeah. But what we can have all together in common is that we're all if we can all have the goal of getting our families together and living the faith, and that's going to look different in each of our families, but yet the same. So I'm glad you brought up the generational impact part.
It's also like, isn't at the core, that's what living liturgically in your home is like meeting each kid where they're at. Because, like, if a kid only experiences their faith and like Jesus on Sundays when it's very, like uniform. We're using big words. A homily they're probably not going to understand, let alone you're like your blood sugar's low and you're like thinking about cinnamon rolls. Like it's like you're not gonna like on a Wednesday you're not gonna be thinking about the church service unless you're thinking about how boring it was as a 5-year-old or whatever. And so like, especially where they're at developmentally, if you're going home and you're like getting them to use their hands and maybe make the dessert and then tying in whatever you're learning about, that's what's gonna stick in their brains. And like even just like what we did with Family Faith Formation, they also were obviously like very kid oriented. Like I remember
a lot of crafts.
Yeah, a lot of crafts that made sense with the faith and
or like different stories. I think they would bring up helps. Yeah, just like change that environment that you think that the faith is meant to be in from just being within the 4 walls of a church to the home and to everywhere.
Or even
which is a domestic church then.
Yeah.
Church
like
home.
The example that my brain is thinking of is, I mean, we grew up going to church and you see the priest in the different color vestments and like as a little kid you maybe notice, but you don't really think anything of it unless you're like, oh, pink's my favorite color, But I remember in Family Faith Formation there was like a little like paper stick figure priest, and then like you
paper
got to like
priest.
it was a paper doll priest, it was, and then you like we had to color the vestment, like I think I got to color the green one, and then and like changing like. I mean, it was
dressing father.
Very, you had like
he wasn't naked. He had
the
clerics under.
Yeah, but you had like put the vestment on,
and
then then you get to explain more about. Oh, well, so actually, do you guys remember what color he was wearing a couple days ago? And we're like, and now you're actually going to pay attention. And here I am as a 20-something-year-old thinking about the paper doll priest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Action figure. Remember when I worked for the church and the priest I was working for at that time, he's like, because we made the paper doll priest and we had his picture. And he's like, I don't know how I feel about the paper doll. I remember Father Jeff was like, I would rather be more like action figure Father Jeff. So we were like, this is action figure paper doll Father Jeff.
Yep.
Did you have something to add with that, Carter?
Not really. I was gonna, I guess, say, like, as kids too, for like me anyway, but like I think a lot of kids, food is just such an obvious, easy one. It's like involve food, and even if they don't care about what we're talking about, they're still going to get involved with the food.
For
we're
sure.
humans, we all eat. So having like food involved with some family information, stuff, or just living in general, you just, you'll remember it.
Yeah.
And it's like a chemical reaction in your brain too. It's like a little dopamine hit.
Yeah.
So you also like have like a, oh wow, that was awesome.
Yeah,
like,
I think
sugar.
I want.
it's like I sat through the lesson. But then it goes. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say there was a lesson where Mom like made sugar cookies, but then the other one had.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, the other one had like there were 2 sets of cookies. So, like we didn't know that.
It was
one
about
was
devil's
regular.
food. It was devil's food.
Devil's food. Like how he's deceptive. Like the 2 sets of sugar cookies looked the same, but one of them had like 5 cups of salt in it. So
and vinegar.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
horrible.
Like I totally remember Dad and I just like we were like so excited. We're like, have a cookie, guys. And then we were watching.
We were
their
like
reaction.
some things up that they want us to have a cookie now and not at the end, but
But yeah, so that was a really good.
We're like,
so you
why is
made
Dad in the kitchen and not sitting here listening to the lesson? He's up to something.
you hear his little giggle in the back.
But that's a great point to make. Like how we use the food then to teach. Like, oh look, it looks just like a sweet sugar cookie. But it's not.
It's filled with salt.
It's a salt block.
Actually bad for you.
Yeah. No,
I was
that's
gonna go off of Carter too, where it's like the cool part, the fulfilling part, is then when you're walking through High B and see, the pretzels, and then you start thinking about the Feast of the Holy Cross.
Oh,
and like,
okay.
and you're
I was
so
thinking
then
of the praying arms even.
I mean, different ones we use pretzels for, but like it
triggers
integrates into your life and makes you stop in daily life to like think about your faith, and I mean that's the whole point. So
it's so fun.
Angel food cake. You're like, hey pal, thanks for looking out for me.
Mm-hmm.
You can say the guardian angel prayer quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
As you're walking through the dessert aisle and the grocery store.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
The energy drinks from the road trip.
Well, come back next week after the bathroom break. You'll be sure to want to tune in next time when we finish our conversation with my bigs on what it was like to live in a faith-focused home and how it affected their adulthood. Thanks for joining us today. Remember to like, subscribe, and share Living Lit, and reach out with topics you'd like tackled at livinglit@sfcatholic.org. And be the light, shine the light, share the light, and live lit.